don't even know.
There right now. I may want to dig it out before we start.
You feel free to. I'm just saying, the video's going. Don't pick your nose.
Right. Yeah, I'll try to behave myself.
Well, we'll see how that goes. How long that lasts.
Yeah. The minute you ask me a question that I don't like.
Ew.
I'm saying, Phil, I can't give away all my secrets.
You ready?
We are obviously ready, Dan.
All right. Do you feel safe? I don't know. Here we go.
Good, bad. I'm the guy with the gun.
Hello, folks. Welcome to another edition of Firing Line Radio Show. This is Philip Naiman. I hope you're going to have a great weekend this weekend. And guys, write this down. Monday is an important day. Monday is Valentine's Day. There's a reason it's important. If you don't know what that reason is on Tuesday, you'll figure that out. So Monday's Valentine's Day. Make sure you go down to Bullseye Sports Guns and Ammo and get your wife a nice gift card so she can give it back to you on Father's Day. So that's really what we're looking at here. Just make sure you get the bases covered. Get a nice gift card. Bullseye Sports Guns and Ammo, Riverside. Life is good. Hey, folks, joining me here on the show, I have John Adams. John Adams is a longtime friend. I'm talking
30 years, probably.
Yeah, I was 3 when I met him.
Yeah. Right. You were a youngin', that's for sure.
We were both youngins. Yeah. John and I have been hunting together for many, many years. We're going to talk about a lot of different things today. And his specialty or speciality, if you are from England, his speciality is duck hunting. So, you haven't heard me talk a lot about that because it is not my specialty, but that's something he loves to do. He's been doing it for years. We're going to talk a lot about that. So again, folks, remember Monday, Valentine's Day. Don't forget, don't mess up right now. Say, hey, honey, I got to go out the store to get what you need. The stores are open. Don't wait till Monday afternoon coming home from work because you're dead as one of John's geese. Your goose is cooked on Monday if you forget about that. Okay. Coming forward here, we have a lot of things that are going to be happening in the near term. This next week, not today's show, obviously, but the following show, I'm having Rick Travis on. Rick Travis is the Director of Development for the California Rifle and Pistol Association. He's going to give us all the legislative updates. And it's very important you hear what's going on in the state, what they plan. And those of you in other states, it's very important that you listen to this too. Like, why? I ain't in California. I get that. But I'm coming to you through a time capsule. If you do not pay attention to what's going on in your state, this is your future. You have got to be active. You have to know how these people think, what they're doing, and how to stop them. So we're fighting the good fight here in California. You need to be involved in that also. So guys, you all need to listen to what the legislative progressives want to do and how do we combat that? Because it is coming to a city near you. And I know you're thinking, hey, I like to pick on Texans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A big target.
Hey man, I'm Texas. It ain't happening in Texas. Just go back a couple of years and Texas was a Democrat state run by Ma Richards. Ran that place for quite a long time. Lyndon Johnson came from Texas. Okay. Texas has always been a borderline state. We've been blessed the last 20 years that they've learned to vote the correct way, but Texas is not a safe state. And there's so many people from other states moving in there trying to flip that. So you need to understand that even if you think you're in a very safe place, you are not. This is the battle and you need to be involved. On the Firing Line Radio Show, we always say GOYA. That stands for get off your couch and get in the fight. You have to get involved here, folks. Okay, so I think I've beaten the drum enough on that. Do you think? One more time.
I got the message.
You gonna add anything?
It's a great message.
And join the organizations that are fighting, guys. California Rifle and Pistol Association, join them. They are fighting. Rick's supposed to have been on several times recently, but he gets called into legislative sessions up there in Sacramento, or excremento as it's more properly called. So yeah, these guys are fighting, join them, give them 5 years, 10 years, send them some money, just do it. Just you have to be involved. You have to support the people who are fighting for our rights because nobody else is, right? Nobody else.
Amen.
All right. So my buddy John here, we met in 95, I think.
Yeah.
About that time frame.
Yeah.
Back in 1995, we were at Harvest Christian Fellowship in Riverside, and we just had an affinity for hunting, and it took off from there. John has always run bird dogs, right? Hunting
Yes.
dogs.
Yep.
I've run hound dogs. It's a whole different game. But John, why don't we start with kind of using a dog to hunt? What's involved with that? What's special about that? What you like the most, and so forth.
Well, I can tell you, to me, whether it's upland or it's, waterfowl hunting.
So what's the difference upland and waterfowl?
Well, upland is, your upland game birds, or, your field birds, and
Non-mud.
Right. Correct. Yeah. Not a lot less mud, let's put it that way, and swampy. Obviously, the, grasslands, the highlands, the, mountain type of terrain, depends on what type of species you're hunting. You're going to hit the full gamut of different, geographical areas or type of, areas that you're hunting. To me, just talk about a little bit about duck hunting right now. I don't think you should be a duck hunter without a dog. That's my opinion, right? There's so many times that you are going to, wound a bird, or it's in the water and it's flying off. And if you don't have a dog right on it right away, you're gonna miss that opportunity to bag that bird.
Or in my case, I'm able to shoot them so far away that they land in the middle of the lake.
Right.
So then I'm not going to wait out there 100 yards for those long shots.
That's why your dog is your best friend, right? And they're obviously an awesome animal to work with when they're doing everything that you train them to do, and it's a lot of fun.
So for waterfowl,
right,
most people choose a different dog than for upland game.
Correct. Yeah, more often. I mean, I've been a Labrador guy for years, and I've trained my dogs to be very versatile in a lot of different hunting situations. But predominantly they're a waterfowl, type of dog, and I just enjoy hunting with them. When you get your dog to work and do everything you want it to do, that's as much of fun as just the hunting in itself. So that's what I enjoy.
Yeah. How Labradors take to water. My hound dogs.
Right.
No, they get their ankles deep and they're like, I'm cold, I need to leave.
Right.
So the labs are very, very good for hunting in water. What's the trick? So when you're calling your ducks in, right? The most important thing is that ducks are looking for movement. They see something moving in the weeds, they're going to flare off, take off. Right. How do you get your dog just to sit in one spot?
Well, in my blinds specifically, I've created a little, a place for him to stay in, a little house, you can call it that. Of course, it's totally camouflaged and a lot of brush around it. So very concealed. Keeping it concealed is really the preeminent, factor to keeping those ducks from focusing on, down where they may be hearing the calls. And of course, with calls and things of that nature, you want to be careful because you don't want to do too much calling when they're flying over you, because that exposes you even more. But keeping them concealed and yourself, and minimizing the movement is key to the success, to get those ducks to, draw them in and hopefully get them to commit. And that's what you're looking for to get that best shot.
Now, for those of you watching this on our YouTube channel, Firing Line Radio Show, you'll notice that John says he's a duck hunter, but he doesn't have a big beard. Is that not a prerequisite?
Yeah, I still have to show up to the office every day and look presentable. So I try to keep it groomed as best as I can. I wish I was those guys. Duck commanders are some of my favorite guys.
Yeah, they're great guys. But yeah, you need to ZZ Top look. Huh? Yeah. Does that work for the office?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So that it is. So writing down my checklist for swamp donkey duck hunting, the beard is not really a prerequisite?
Well, it's good camouflage, actually. Hey, I would say this, the older I'm getting right now, the whiter the beard is. I do probably put a little makeup on it to kind of brush it down, put it that way.
So that's the thing, is if you have a saltier beard than normal, or than you used to have, I should say, that's good for when you're hunting snow geese.
Yeah, exactly. You blend in a lot better with that kind of,
The salt and pepper look is perfect for hunting snow geese. Okay, so most of the time when you're hunting ducks, I mean, we've jump shot them, like sneak up on some rivers and come over the top of ponds and try and surprise some mallards or whatever happens to be in there, usually coots. But proper duck hunting, there's a bit of an art and a science to it, right? So, talk about wind direction, the river current, sunrise, give somebody an idea about what to consider, and decoy placement, stuff like that.
Well, different situations require different types of setups. Let's say you're hunting over water, and
most of the time you're going to be, well, I guess you do fields, but most of the time in California, you're looking for a pond, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're looking for water. Water is the one source. Obviously, they come into, and obviously they come to feed, rest, obviously get water and that type of stuff. So it depends on, again, the situation. Let's just example my blind that we have up in Wasco area, Bakersfield. Anyway, I guess we're segueing in, and back to Philip for some other comments.
Well, he's a professional already, folks. Hey, we'll be right back after this. We'll learn more about setting up your blinds, your decoys, and duck hunting with Big John, duck hunter extraordinaire, the Goose Killer, over here at Firing Line Radio Show. Check us out, podcast, firinglineradio.com, YouTube channel. God bless. Be back right after this.
All right, we're off mic.
Nope, you're recording. You're always live.
Oh, is it? Well, good.
Yeah, you can't even pick your nose on the brakes. The video thing's killing me.
That's right. It's the world we live in today.
That's true.
Being watched everywhere.
Dr. Dan, you ready?
Here we go.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. See this? This is my boomstick.
Hey, folks, welcome back to Philip Naiman. Welcome back to Firing Line Radio Show. This is Philip Naiman. And as you know, every week we're talking about Bullseye Sports Guns and Ammo in Riverside because they are a great sponsor of the show. And that's the place you need to go in the Riverside general area to get all of your guns and ammo and gear and boxes and fantastic looking backpacks for shooting. You know what? Let me talk about that real quick. You show up on a shooting event. Say you wanted to go shoot IDPA or anything, you want to go do a regular shooting event at one of the clubs like West End or Prado or something like that. And you show up there with your black box with the yellow top from Home Depot. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is head on over to Bullseye Sports Guns and Ammo and say, hey, Vince, I'm planning on shooting IDPA. Which of these really cool, designed for me backpacks can I use? It'll hold my pistols, it'll hold my magazines, my ammo, everything separated, a place for my hearing protection, and make me look really cool. That's what Vince will hook you up with over at Bullseye Sports Guns and Ammo in Riverside between Arlington and Central off of Brockton at the Riverside Arcade, 951-823-0211, 951-823-0211. And when I see you at one of these competitions, show me your backpack and we'll find some giveaway for you. We'll give them a free duck hunt at your club.
There you go. It's on the table.
Maybe. But check it out, man. Don't be the Home Depot guy. Head on out there. Folks, joining me back, I have John Adams. John Adams is the Goose Killer. That was a name he earned at what? You're 6 years old?
No, well, I don't know if I was that young.
Dad took him to the park.
Yeah.
It was a bad scene.
Back that was a slingshot time off the golf courses.
Dad comes back to the car. John stuffing it in the trunk. What? Nothing. Just moving on. Christmas is covered, Dad. That's awesome. But he's been hunting a long time. Loves waterfowl, duck, and goose hunting. And there's some art to that. Now, again, if you know me, you know that I'm just the idiot that shows up and sneaks up on a pond and jumps over the top, and hopefully something besides a coot is in there. But the real duck hunters like John, they have a little bit of art and science mixed together. So we're talking about duck hunting over water or even over land, but there's some certain things you need to consider, like where do you expect the birds to come from? Where's your predominant wind? John, why don't you fill us in on that?
Yeah, well, a lot of that is, again, key to, your success of trying to draw the ducks in to, working to get a good shot on them. So a lot of it, early in the morning, depending upon how you're setting up, you don't want to be, when the sun starts to come up, you don't want the sun right in your face. First of all, that casts the glare off your face. I mean, I throw some, camouflage, covering on my face. I try to conceal myself as best as possible.
That's very important. We do that in art. I do that in a lot of my hunting, even just rifle hunting. But if you're up in Mendota and you don't have any camo paint, don't use the mud.
Well, it works actually pretty good.
It doesn't come off.
We don't, yeah.
It does not come off.
It is,
if you're up there in the Mendota Wildlife Refuge, that mud will be with you the rest of your life. I'm just telling you.
It gets sticky, so, not having the sun come up in your face. And again, it's just it's a glare that you'll cast, which will, alert ducks to.
And you won't be able to see the ducks coming in.
Yeah, true. And yeah, when it starts to get at eye level, that first light. Wind is a big factor too. Obviously, you want the birds to circle back and come into the wind. So you want to set up.
So like an airplane, small airplane, they come to land into the face, into a headwind.
Yeah, ducks do the same thing. That way they can have that wind underneath the wings when they're coming in to do their, their landing and everything. So a lot of those setups, you want to make sure that you leave areas within your spread of your decoys to kind of invite them in. It depends on early season, late season, and kind of get a feel for what's going on with the ducks, how they're reacting to certain things. I'm a big advocate for keeping movement on the water, a lot of jerk cord. I got a lot of bubblers. I got other, mojo type, wing operations. Go ahead.
Jerk cord.
Yeah.
What is that?
So jerk cord is a anchored line with an elastic band that you have, little cleats or hookups that you use with your regular decoys, and you move that line back and forth to create ripples on the water. So it really shows activity that's happening, as in ducks are moving around. I put feeders around those bubblers, so I see it. They see a lot of activity. If
wait,
yeah.
You put feeders. What?
Feeders are
so it's important. I want to clarify this. You cannot bait a field. When he says he's using feeders, he's not putting grain in the field or corn in the field. He's using a decoy that looks specifically as if it is feeding at that point in time.
That is correct. Yeah.
I want to be clear on that.
Right. And so those are just different, type of decoys that, reflect different type of movements of ducks within the, within your spread.
How about the ones with the little wings?
The mojos are important,
Called the mojo?
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. So birds, as they're flying over you, especially if they're up a little bit higher, they see that movement, that wing movement. And obviously you have, white on the underneath side, and then you have, assimilated, wing, as is the graphics on the top. So when that thing is flipping, it's showing some type of activity, like wings are flapping. And that just shows that, kind of stuff that the ducks are attracted to, obviously, because they're thinking other ducks are down there. So that's what draws them in.
So what you don't want, or I guess it happens sometimes, but a completely static decoy line is not the best.
Yeah.
Meaning just sitting, you throw out 24 plastic ducks and sit and wait.
Yeah. If these ducks get pretty smart, especially in late season, when they start seeing these, ginormous spreads or the different types you're using, depending upon, again, the area you're hunting. If there's no movement, it's not realistic. So you always want to have a little bit of wind coming in, and that just kind of creates that ripple, and it looks like there's more activity, and your decoys are kind of bouncing and moving around like a natural duck would.
What about fog?
Well, fog is, where we hunt, it's very common. sometimes the ducks, if they get in close enough proximity, and, I hear ducks all the time flying over me in really dense fog, and it's frustrating because, they're looking to come in and land, but they just don't commit because they don't have as good a visual, just like you don't. And sometimes the shots that you get are real quick type of shots. So you got to be really on your game. You're ready to, get up and shoot, because if you see something that's coming through, breaking through the fog, you gotta react to it. So fog is a little bit hanging around you is not bad, because again, it kind of breaks up any, sunlight. Again, sunlight can be, your worst enemy as far as exposure, right? So a little bit's good, too much is bad. I've experienced it. I've done it both ways, right? We always wait for those perfect days.
Both of them.
Yeah. Well, and
how long is duck season?
Well, it starts in generally the second or third week of October, and it goes all the way to the end of January. We do have two special hunts. We have a youth hunt that happens the week after, and then we have a veterans hunt that happens the week after that. California.
And I think some states, like for snow geese, I think they extend it, don't they?
Through February.
Is that Texas?
Yeah, a lot of states, because their migratory route is just a little bit behind, your other, common ducks and then geese and stuff like that. And
there's a huge population of them.
Oh, huge population. Yeah.
Have you shot snow geese?
Oh yeah, shot snows before, and it's a lot of fun.
What's the most exotic waterfowl you've shot?
Well, that was when we did that Texas hunt for sandhill crane, and I don't know if you guys have ever done that. You got to experience it. It is one of the unique hunts. That's the first time I've been able to do it. Of course,
if you shot the crane, do you do it before it delivers the baby?
Right.
Don't shoot it before. After when it's flying away from the chimney, then you can shoot.
We identify the ones that are carrying babies and the ones that are not. So that's you gotta ID your sandhill cranes.
Or maybe that's historic. I don't know. It's one of the two.
They look the same. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, bird identification, that can be very tricky.
It can be,
because while they are flying, a merganser, which has a 25 bird per limit daily bag limit, looks just like a cormorant, which has a 0 bag ever bag limit. So bird identification, especially, if you've got the sun in your eyes, then the bird's kind of black as a silhouette coming in. You really need to know what you're looking at. So what are some tips about how to tell a fish-eating bird from a regular merganser, so to speak?
Well, I tell you, a lot of it comes with experience, and the best rule of thumb is if you don't know, don't shoot, right? In certain,
you say that now.
Yeah, well, I know, and especially, hey, when we're all like any other hunter out there, we're so eager to, bag our first duck or whatever it is, big game. Identifying your target is paramount. I mean,
we'll talk about bird shapes and stuff when we come back. Folks, Philip Naiman, Firing Line Radio Show. Check us out at firinglineradio.com for the podcast. We'll be right back after this. So I think it's important, when they're coming in, what are the ideal characteristics? The long neck is a goose, size-wise, what to compare them to, wing beats, the eradic flights of a teal versus a mallard, some of those different things that you can just give people word pictures to.
I'll do my best. It's tough to really, like I said, a lot of this comes just years of experience.
Yeah, you go, boom, what was that? Okay, that's a teal.
Oh yeah. Great shot. You're more focused on your hunting, your shooting skill, and is what exactly you're taking for your bag.
Yeah. You think it's a big mallard coming in, and it's a spoonie.
Yeah. We call the Bakersfield,
Bakersfield mallards. Yeah. San Jacinto mallards.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's been.
Dan, we ready?
Yeah.
So, but the spoonies aren't that good to eat, right?
The way I cook things, you can hardly tell the difference. I gotta tell you,
you cook that bad?
I cook that good.
Oh,
I make it taste that.
They
good.
all taste like crap.
Well, that's all.
No, I'd like to know.
Per perspective.
We'll talk about that in the last segment.
Lay down your weapons.
Come and get them.
Hey folks, welcome back to Firing Line Radio Show. Philip Naiman here with John Adams. We're talking about duck hunting, waterfowl. I know we want to talk about upland game and a bunch of other stuff, but I'm getting some good information here, and I want to make sure he gets that out to you because you're looking at a few years of experience out there in the swamps. He was not on Duck Dynasty.
Yeah,
right?
not yet.
No, he was, and he wasn't in the Corona River bottoms, but he's been hunting a lot of different areas out there. And, we want to try and help you guys understand how to set up for ducks, because there's nothing worse than going out there and wasting an entire weekend and either having birds flare out at 100 yards or they're flying over you at 100 yards high and never coming down. And so what are some of the things? Or you get them to come in, but you're not sure what it is. So you don't, or you make a mistake and then you have to go call the game warden. So bird identification is important. A lot of this, I see birds all the time flying when I'm driving down the freeway.
Right. Yeah.
It drives my wife crazy, but my head snaps over there. Those are geese.
Yeah.
Those are ducks. Those
Yeah,
are mallards.
catch that movement. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can see the way they fly. Now, everybody has seen the big V formation, right?
Yeah.
So if you see a big V formation in the sky, what are we usually looking at?
Well, mostly those are your geese. And again, being a migratory bird, they all will get into that V shape as they're, basically coming from, Canada all the way down to
Alaska,
Mexico.
yeah.
Well, Alaska, yeah. And so duck identification is challenging at times. I would say even for a guy like myself who's been hunting for, 40 years now, plus I should say, and seeing the ducks, and you get the way their wing beat reacts.
Which ones have the faster wing beats?
Well, the teal probably, we call them, jet pilots, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're coming in fast and hot and low. A lot of times they're flying low naturally.
So if you're around trees, they're usually below the treetops coming in over the water.
Yeah. And when they come in, like you said, like jet pilots, man. I'm telling you, it's crazy. They're probably one of the harder birds to hit early season because of their speed and their flight pattern. They're tricky. A lot of fun, but your bigger ducks, again, you'll see a little slower wing beat, and then you just a lot of years of experience. You start to identify the ducks, specific type of species you want to take. You really got to understand, your regulations and
Very much so.
Yeah. And knowing, how many of a certain species you can shoot and kill, whether it's a hen or it's a drake. So, know your regs going in, man, because there's no excuse. I've been around some guys and I've seen them trying to, talk their way out of, the game warden, having a conversation with them. And, there's no mercy on that, man. You got to know your stuff. So just be prepared for that.
So let's just say the three different types of body size. The smaller ones, and we're not talking coots, but it's actually they're about the size of a coot. The teal is about the size.
Yeah, similar, a little smaller.
So,
similar.
but they're way better birds. The coots run across the water to take off. Teal are just amazing the way they fly. But they'll come in small groups usually, and they usually don't have a formation. It almost looks like a bunch of bumblebees coming through.
Yeah,
how they're moving across the sky. They're using up the space.
Yeah.
Ducks by themselves, sometimes you'll hear them quacking, and maybe you'll get a big group coming in. But out here in Southern California, they're usually 2s and 3s, 4s, maybe.
Yeah.
Not 20 or 30 at a time
not
coming
ripping
in.
up like the teal do.
And you'll see that they're bigger body size and a little slower wing beat. And then you've got the 747 tankers, the big Canadian geese or speckled geese that are coming in,
Sure,
and they
the
are
graders.
and long necks in front of them. Sometimes they'll be honking way off in the distance. And what's amazing about a goose now, John, correct me if I'm wrong, is you think they're flying slow because of their size. And so you're like, well, I got this one. And what you don't realize is because of their size, you just shot behind them because they're moving a lot faster than you realize.
Yeah.
How many times out of 100 misses does somebody shoot in front of the bird?
Rarely. It's always behind.
Behind or
that's,
under. Yeah.
If I'm with a young duck hunter and I'm bringing them into my blind and, bringing them into the fold of learning how to duck hunt, I said 90% of the time I said, hey, you're behind the bird, right? And I said, the biggest thing is following through too. A lot of people shoot and they stop. Follow through is the key to, getting your bag limit, your success. So if you're familiar with follow through, that's just like anything else, any sport, just take any sport, golf, baseball, whatever. It's the same theory. You got to swing through, and when you shoot and continue that
Momentum.
follow through, the momentum, because if you understand working with shotguns, you have a lot of pellets that are coming out, and as you're shooting that, thing's coming out, and that barrel now is guiding that pattern through the swing of the bird. So chances of connecting and hitting your bird are a lot better.
Right. So the best way obviously is practicing, and for duck hunting, skeet is a great way to practice. Not so much trap. Trap is more of a point and click, but skeet, if you do not follow through with your barrel on skeet shooting, you are not going to make a connection.
Okay.
Now, there are some people, extremely talented shooters, that can hold in one position and time the bird, but that's because they've got 10,000 rounds out of that shotgun. And it's more of a trick shot that they've learned to do by spending untold Saturdays out at the range,
Right.
as opposed to what you want to try and do in the field blind. So go down to Rahagi's, go to Prado, shoot the sporting clays. You'll be surprised. If you're a good trap shooter, you'll be surprised at the difference in shooting a sporting clays round than shooting trap. If you're a good skeet shooter, the same thing, because skeet, it's the same presentation all the way around, same presentation, lulls you into it. Sporting clays is like, putting marbles on ice and trying to cut diamonds. How's that? I mean, everything
Yeah.
is different.
I would say if you're really going to be in any of the bird hunting type of categories, sporting clays is your best way to
Practice. Yeah.
practice, tune up, or just learn, the lead and the way, you have to pick up the bird fast. A lot of what you do in hunting is your ability to pick up, that bird or the game, or whatever you're hunting, and learning how to then strategize in your when the timing's right to get up and take that bird, and then understanding how to follow through and everything else.
That's a really good point. So here we are, we're in the blind. You got your young hunter with you. We're going to blame it on him.
Yeah.
And the birds are coming in, and they're like 60, 70 yards out, and he stands up to shoot.
Right.
And what happens?
Right. Well, you just expose yourself.
And they do an immediate U-turn, no shots
They'll
taken.
flare off you.
Yeah.
Flare off you, and you'll never get a shot. Yeah, you can take some, you can put a little steel in the air, but you're not going to hit very well.
Create rust spots at the bottom of the swamp.
Yeah, right. Steel shot has been a different game. We've been doing it a long time now, but
It's terrible.
yeah, my friends and guys that I've hunted with for years, I mean, we're always talking about the steel shot in the good old days of using the lead, and what our kill ratio was using lead versus using steel shot.
Yeah, steel shot is a disaster, and the science is all wrong about the loose eggshells coming from ducks eating a pellet that, if it were to be buried, would be buried so deep under the ground they're not eating it. So it is stupidity.
Yeah.
We know that it's another thing brought to us by the HSUS, the Hypocritical Society of Urban Snobs. You know what? Decoys. So laying out decoys. I've seen guys really try and plan this out. It looks like a football schematic. It's like, okay, here's the blind.
Yeah.
I want 2 feeders over here. I want 2 puddle jumpers over here. I want my mojo here. Here's the wind. Here's the current. Here's the blind. I mean, how detailed do you get?
Well, there's some people who put a tremendous amount of thought into it, and then I see them doing, change ups, through the day, which is not bad, because you got to understand again how the duck's reacting, and you got to read that, and you may do a few chains up on your decoys. However, you've got to take that first initial, strategy as far as what you're trying to do, and your best hunting sometimes, or your best shooting, is that first light into that first hour. So you want to make sure that you have a setup that is going to work for you under the conditions that you're hunting under. So,
do you leave decoys out all the time?
No, we always pick up all of our decoys. We change up things a little bit based on, the next either Wednesday that we hunt on or Saturday. And so we pick up our decoys. We make it as natural as possible before we come back out again and hunt for the next hunt.
Have you noticed a decline in duck hunting over the last 30 years?
Yeah, in certain areas, depending on what flyway you're in, and I think
On the West Coast, California.
West Coast, yeah, it's become more challenging. I got to tell you, you really got to be at the top of your game as far as your presentation, your setups, your shooting ability, because it's getting
The bird numbers are not there.
Yeah, the bird numbers
They're changing. The Central Valley, they quit growing crops there. They
Right.
grow dirt now.
Right,
So the
right.
birds have to go somewhere else. So they're
Right.
changing flyways.
Well, they've done a lot of orchards. A lot of things are being, the crops are
Yeah.
being replaced with orchards.
If they
So their
have
natural-
anything growing
yeah,
there.
Yeah,
It's
the
not dirt.
natural, food source
The
has
rice
diminished.
fields. Folks, Philip Naiman, Firing Line Radio Show will be back for we will be back for one more segment with John Adams, firinglineradio.com. We'll be right back after this. Yeah, they screwed up that Central Valley. And that's when
Oh, I know.
Feinstein and those guys cut off the water. That's when the bird populations plummeted.
Yeah,
They-
Well, they stopped doing the rice. They stopped doing, milo,
Yeah.
corn. We want to see the numbers that we used to see, and I don't know. The birds aren't as healthy as they used to be coming down, because they would make their stops and feed, and then they were plump. They were getting fat.
Now they're flying too far, too fast
Right,
in between
right.
stops.
Right. Now they have to go longer distances, and if you don't have a good food source to draw them into, they just keep flying down until they find it.
Yeah.
That's why Imperial Valley is actually doing pretty good. Their numbers have gone up.
Well, they're doing the right kind of crops out there.
Yeah, a lot more crops.
All right, Dr. Dan.
Here we go.
I'm just proud of wearing this shirt right here.
Yeah, we're
I'm
talking
trying,
on the side.
I'm trying to get the sleeve going like this.
We should have a bigger arm to show it off on.
Yes!
Those strings are looking
Great
good
hunter.
right now, though, I gotta tell
Yes.
you.
Fine figure of a man, yes? Yes?
Yes.
That is all you need to know for now.
Hey, folks, welcome back to Firing Line Radio Show. This is Philip Naiman here. Now, if you're watching along on the YouTube channel under Firing Line Radio, you're going to see that Big John over here, the Goose Killer, is wearing some Firing Line Radio swag. This is one of our new shirt designs. You're going to have to go online to see it here. It says long distance. It's got a big rifle on there. That's kind of cool.
Big
thing.
guns.
Big guns for big guns. That's right. It's got our Firing Line logo on the sleeve. Very proud of that. That's one of 3 different designs we came out with this year. And if those guys ever finish our danged website, you'll be able to buy them pretty soon. So,
Right.
so anyway, check that out at firinglineradio.com when it's up and running. We're close. I think we're close. I don't know. I'll yell at them on Monday. So folks, joining me back here, I have John. We're talking about duck hunting. And honestly, this is one of my favorite hunting buddies. We've been hunting together for many, many years, a lot of deer hunts, elk hunts, quail hunts. And we plan to talk about all that. But, he's such a wealth of knowledge in waterfowl that's where we want to go with next. So John, I want to talk about the gear involved. We talked about the dog. Do you need a canoe? Do you need boats? What do you need? Duck clubs. But let's just go into the firearms, because it's the Firing Line Radio Show.
Right.
So let's talk about some dang guns. It's the 4th segment. We're almost done
I was
here.
hoping to get to that.
Bring the gun, man.
Right. Well, it's all a matter of preference. I've been hunting the Benelli gun for many, many years. I started with one of the first generations with the A90 Montefeltro gun, and I'm a lefty, so one of those southpaws out there. But nevertheless, a gun is a matter of personal preference. However, again, the Benelli for me has been one of the sturdy guns that I've been using for years. Now, in duck hunting, again, we're talking about concealment. We're talking about movement. The guns that I use are all camouflaged. There's no reflective parts on it, maybe little pieces of the receiver, but nevertheless, it's a very sturdy gun. In duck hunting, you're not going to want to take out your best over under beautiful wood stock and awesome looking, gun, because you're going to beat it up. I mean, that's duck hunting. So, talking about the guns and stuff like that, you got to understand, most duck hunters are using semi-automatics.
Okay.
I mean, that's just the
So
name of the game.
let's start with semi-automatics.
Yeah.
12 or 20.
I prefer 12. And the reason is
I shoot
is-
410 because I only shoot them in the head.
Well, you're that good. You know, I'm not there yet. So one of these
They
days I'm gonna be
fly?
just like you. Right. But a 12 gauge, and again, depends on what species you're hunting. So geese, I'll use 3.5. Sometimes if we're doing a field blind and we're getting them to commit and they're right in our face, a 3-inch, steel shot
Size.
2-shot. Sometimes double BBs for the cranes. We were using the double BBs.
What's bigger, 2 or BBs?
BBs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
It's the size of the pellet.
when it comes right, but it's the inverse of the number. So a 2, which is a lower number, is much bigger than a 9, which is a higher number, much
Right.
smaller pellet.
Right.
So it's kind of backwards. It's like the same thing with gauges. A 20 gauge is a smaller diameter cartridge than a 12 gauge, even though the 20 is a higher number, right?
Right.
So, and the 410 is actually the caliber, but you want to have, especially when you're dealing with steel, you want to have a bigger piece, right?
Yeah, speed is important. I said, my preference is, a 3-inch on most of my duck hunting. The 3-inch shell, number 4 shot, because I want to try to get that right pattern. And with right choke tubes, there's so many great choke tubes out there today, and that's getting into another whole level of understanding, shooting and the, chemistry behind that, if you call it that. But number 4 shot steel for me, 3-inch, anywhere from 1450 to 1500, feet per second is what I prefer.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
so if you're practicing with 1500 feet a second shot, and that's what you're hunting with, that's great. But most of your target loads that you're going to be out at the range on are 1100 feet a second, 1200 feet a second.
1200. Yeah.
So you may want to, if you're going to practice specifically for duck hunting, you may want to
Yeah.
load your own ammo.
Yeah, it steps up the game a little bit, but you got to understand too, the difference if you're doing some of your sporting clays, your trap, your speed, you're using lead, right? So the science behind the lead is it's a heavier, metal, and the patterning is more consistent, and the penetration is greater on your bird. So that's why you step that up to the 1450 to 1500, speed. So you get that right impact. So you get penetration.
You
through
get the
bird.
impact penetration, but your timing on your
Sure,
shots
it
is
is.
going to
It
be
does.
different.
It does change it. Yeah. So you have to be cognizant of that, know exactly what that lead is. And again,
Which again is
comes
the,
experience.
that's just why I just shoot them in the head.
Yeah. Well, again,
It's just
I've
that's
always
all.
wanted to be you.
I
I'm
am-
trying to figure out how he does it so well.
I'm great on paper. Just ask me. So
Right. Right.
hey, it's my show. I'm a hero.
Yeah,
Hey, look at this. Hey, no
Right.
problem. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about shot pattern, because a lot of people, they say you need to go pattern your shotgun. So they get out some butcher paper and they put it on a frame, and at 20 yards, they look at the holes at 30 yards, 40 yards, 50 yards, whatever. They count how many are in a circle. Now that's one form of the pattern, but your shotgun pattern is a 3D amoeba-like blob. So even though if it's crossing a perpendicular piece of paper, that's where all the pellets came through, but that's not when all the pellets came through. If you're able to do a side view as those pellets flew through the air, you'd see like a backwards avocado shape of pellets. And some have longer strings than others, some have wider strings than others. And so like a full choke, you'd have more of a longer string, and an opener skeet choke, you'd have a shorter, fatter string. But it's not just like a solid wall at one point in time. It's like a cloud of pellets. And so a lot of times you may miss the bird with the main portion of the charge, but you still got him with the tail end as it flew into your cloud of pellets. It's kind of a unique,
Correct.
neat thing.
Correct.
If you're shooting sporting clays, you'll see that you dusted or just barely chipped something, which might mean that 2 or 3 pellets hit it. And then you can see the difference when you ink spot something. When clay pigeon's flying out and you shoot, it just disappears into a cloud of clay. That's your full load. If you're chipping it or something like that, it's a good indication that your timing is not right for that shot. And you want to really focus on trying to learn where you need to hold to ink spot those particular patterns.
Yeah, correct. you know, again, patterning is everything. And again, as Philip was explaining, kind of the ergonomics of it. So that pattern is changing because your barrel's moving. Okay. And again, that's probably one of the most important things, as we said, follow through, right? So as you're carrying that barrel through. So yeah, you could hit with one pellet, the golden BB as we call it.
In the head, that's all I do.
In the head. And
I only
and
shoot
you-
one.
Yeah.
That's
right.
all I count on is my one golden PV.
Right. So the other part is too, even when you're out there in the practice range and you're shooting, you know, the clay birds and stuff like that, you can get an understanding, an idea of are you a little behind? Because if you're shooting the bird and it's going away from you and all the fragments, you know, break and go to the right, hard right, then you know you're a little behind. You just caught it just enough.
Where somebody behind you can tell you because they can kind of see where the wad
Correct.
timing
Yeah.
is.
And then, like you said, Philip used the term, I call it dusting, man. When you know you're on target and you just that
Well,
bird explodes.
dusting to me is like when you just knock a little off but when you ink spot it, you know, that's when it just
Yeah,
looks like a.
Everybody's got their own little
Yeah.
kind of terminology.
You mentioned the Benelli.
Yeah.
Ergonomics are extremely important for shotgun shooting. Now, what does that mean? It means that the gun has to fit you in several different ways. Not only does it have to fit you with the length of pull, which everybody goes in and says, hey, man, put the gun here. And if your finger's on the trigger, you're good to go. That's not always the best way. I mean, it's a measurement, but duck hunting, you're up there in the fog and the cold and it's 22 degrees.
Sure. Yeah.
And
Got a
now
lot
you
more
have
clothing
a
on.
giant jacket on
Right.
and all of a sudden that gun's too long for you.
Yeah.
Right? That happens. And you're not going to go down to your t-shirt again like you were in the store when you bought it.
Right. Right.
The other thing is where your eye lines up. So some guns have a natural fit. You know, when you
Yeah,
pick it up and you shoulder it and you've got your cheek pressure on the top of the stock at the comb, and your eye lines up right over that vent rib so you can see the beads without moving your head at all. That's a gun you're going to probably shoot pretty well. And if you can just pick that up several times, because the top of your, well, it's not exactly straight. The vent rib on your barrel is not exactly level with the barrel. And they do that for helping you shoot down range, just so you know. But if your eye can comfortably look down that every time you pick up that gun, that's probably a gun you're going to shoot extremely well.
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of those things, you know, Philip's exactly right. You know, when you go into the field, you're in a different kind of hunting situation because you got all this clothing on. So you have to be cognizant of that when you're going out there and you're trying to figure out that fit for you and the gun and everything else like that.
A good shotgun dealer can help you with that.
Yeah.
Folks, I want to thank my special guest, John Adams. John, are you still giving away that duck hunt?
Yeah, well, we can.
We'll talk about that
love to
offline.
invite it.
Yeah.
Get on Philip's, website, and we'll talk about that. But duck hunting's a lot of fun, guys. It's a lot of work too. Hey, it's a commitment with equipment. Be prepared, but it's one of the funnest things I love doing.
Very good. Don't forget, Monday, Valentine's Day. Don't forget, take your wife duck hunting.
There you
God
go.
bless.
Get her in the blind with you. All right, that's it.
We're still recording, but
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
got to check with Dan here.
Yeah.
Dan, are we good?
Well, no, but I got the recording.
That's Dan.
You don't want to be good.
is he in a station in
Yeah.
monitoring control?
All right. So I'm going to click
Promo.
off here. We'll do the promo.
All right. Hang on.
Happy VD Day, everybody.